Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all having a lovely day. I don't know if you notice anything different about me. You notice? You notice? I lost 7 pounds in 1 week. I have not really been keeping up with my cardio since 2016. As some of you know, if you watch my older videos, I had a quadricep tear in 2016 because I got smashed into by one of those Arrow 7 bikes, and then after he threw food at me, I chased him to let him know what I thought of that. Needless to say, that's not the best thing to do when you get smashed into by a giant piece of metal at 30 miles an hour. And even after it recovered, I kind of used the fact that I had to recover from it and figure out how to walk and run properly again as an excuse to not get involved and do cardio again. It just kind of became a little bit of an excuse for me to be lazy. And I cannot tell you how happy I feel being able to do an hour or 2 hours of cardio a day again. I know that I've done it before, but it's weird because I hadn't done it for such a long period of time. I actually forgot that happiness that you feel when you get done with that type of exercise. It's different than weightlifting, and I genuinely feel like a different person. I feel incredibly happy, incredibly excited, and I feel far healthier. And I'm excited to continue doing this into the future and never use this as an excuse again. I really do credit some of the time that I got to spend just kind of sitting by a nice, clean, beautiful lake in New Hampshire, flying a little drone in an area in Walpole where there's nobody else there, with just kind of giving me the peace and clarity of mind to do something different. And I really did need that, and I appreciate it. And I'm just kind of curious if any of you who have been kind of putting something off like that, just go to even a $10 a month gym. Get on an elliptical, try and kill it for an hour or so, and see how you feel afterwards. I feel fucking amazing, and I hope all of you get to share that type of feeling too. So today what I'd like to discuss is this bionic eye that is now obsolete and unsupported because a company has gone out of business. Many of you have linked me to this article, and you're probably familiar with it. I'm not going to read the entire thing because that's going to make this a very, very boring video. If you want to read it, I'll leave a link down below. A couple of the highlights here is that this is for people who have vision problems. So you have these little glasses over here, and it has a camera. This camera then attaches to some little processing unit, which then attaches to some little thing that goes on your eye over here. And you can just kind of tell by the amount of wires and stuff here. I think it's something like 60 wires that are going to your eye. This is not something that's high resolution. This is about as good resolution as my AT&T driving streams, where I decide to do a stream from my car or my bike, and, well, again, you get about as many pixels here as you do if you're dumb enough to use AT&T's unlimited 5G plan within the continental United States and actually expect it to produce visible video. It's not the best thing in the world. However, if you were blind, 60 pixels is 60 more than 0. So some dude figured out that when, they shock somebody's eye while, with a little wire or something like that he saw a flash of light. They tried it with another wire in a different area. He saw another flash of light. So they thought, okay, let's see if we can get some way to stimulate your eye so that even if you're not able to see perfectly, you can kind of see from these little stimulations from all the little wires electrifying your eye. And they managed to get something that was actually kind of usable for people. Again, not the best, but 60 pixels is 60 pixels more than 0, which is what a lot of blind people are working with. And this is how it works. Now, the problem comes into the play where you have to try to figure out how to make this profitable. It costs over $150,000 to get one of these things installed, and you're getting 60 pixels. So the market for this it's a difficult market. It costs a lot to develop this type of stuff. It costs a lot, it's very difficult to get financing for this type of stuff. And the company that made this was experiencing difficulty through COVID. And as a result of some of those financial difficulties, they laid off a lot of employees and they were no longer picking up their phones. Now, this is going to be a serious problem if we live in the modern dystopia that we currently live in, where you're only allowed to get something fixed from the manufacturer. Because here's the thing, regardless of whether we're talking about a cell phone, a tractor, a laptop, a computer, or something that fixes your eyes, shit breaks. I mean, again, this is technology. At the end of the day, you got a camera, you have a processing unit, you have wires, you have all these different things here. Shit breaks, especially stuff that is going to be mounted in some way, shape, or form to the human body. Well, what do you do if something breaks? Well, okay, so let's say that your Ford F-150 from 1996 breaks. Well, all the documentation is out there for your Ford F-150 from 1996. Doesn't have a lot of computers in it. Doesn't have a lot of proprietary stuff in it. Lots of aftermarket companies making parts for it. Schematics, diagrams, all sorts of block diagrams are out there so that somebody can fix your almost 30-year-old Ford F-150. With modern technology, Not so much. Again, if you're lucky to find a schematic at all, if you go to a site like Venafix or something like that, you're lucky, a notebook schematic or something, to find some sort of pirated schematic that somebody probably put on a USB drive that they hid in their asshole in China and smuggled into America or something. You're very lucky to be able to get access to anything that you need to be able to do that type of work. So what do you do if there's no documentation out there? Well, you're screwed. Like somebody here was screwed. So there was somebody here who had the device in their retina, and he said he was thinking about getting it removed. He said, my conclusion is I must have my vision back. Perk shared a situation with the Argus 2 community in Europe, asking if anyone had spare parts. He quickly heard back from a patient who was no longer using the device and from a doctor with a spare video processing unit. By February 2021, he had a refurbished system, and Perk is now happily using it. A refurbished system. I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about the fact that somebody just literally refurbished their own fucking bionic eye. The next time you hear some fuckface lobbyist tell you that it's going to be so fucking dangerous if somebody manages to fix their headphones, it's so dangerous if somebody managed to fix their smartphone, oh my God, things could explode. These people are fixing their fucking eyeballs, unauthorized. That's the world that we used to live in. We used to be okay with a little bit of risk so that we could preserve our freedom. And this is such a great example of why every single one of those lobbyists that talks about safety, security, think of the children, is so full of shit. I love seeing this. People are trying to figure out how to make a bionic eyeball work again. And they are succeeding outside of the manufacturer, because here's something that's going to happen from time to time. Sometimes the manufacturer of the product is going to go out of business. Sometimes they're going to run out of money. Sometimes they may not have the availability to be able to service you right now. Ask anybody that owns a Tesla that has ever tried to get a service appointment outside of California. There are many circumstances under which you may want to have somebody else fix something. Now, again, the company, they have financial problems. They laid some people off. Listen, I'm not crapping on them for that. Things happen. Shit happens. I've had companies in the past that have just gone bust, that have lost all their money, that, again, I've made a lot of bad decisions over the course of my life, and I'm confident that I'm going to live long enough, especially if I keep exercising, to make a lot of bad decisions into the future. This stuff is going to happen. But what matters is that when that stuff happens, is there documentation? Are there resources available? Are there spare parts available so that if that company goes out of business, what you own can continue to be serviced? Whether it's an Apple laptop, a John Deere tractor, or some dude's bionic eyeball. There was another person here, and this is a scary one, who needed an MRI to rule out a brainstem tumor. But because an MRI's intense magnetic fields can interact with the Argus 2, MRI providers are instructed to contact Second Sight before performing any scans, and Second Sight wasn't picking up the phone. Doerr eventually got a CT scan instead, which found nothing. Quote, I still don't know if I have a brainstem tumor or not, he tells Spectrum. Here's the thing. Maybe if you had some documentation available for the device, you would be able to hand that to your doctor, and then they may be able to understand how that is going to interact with the MRI. Is that documentation publicly available? If it was publicly available, would we be better off than we would calling a phone number that goes nowhere because the company went out of business, especially when we're talking about things that go into people's eyeballs? I really think this case is an important one to bring up because there are medical right to repair bills in certain states, and I have supported medical right to repair back in 2018 if you look at the Endoscope interview that I will link down below. Many people say, well, no, medical equipment is so much more important than consumer electronics. You can't have right to repair for that. What if they breaks? No, it is that much more important, which is why it's needed, because it is that much more important. This person, if they were not able to fix that tool, would be blind. And now you may, again, if you're somebody who's used to 1080p video, you may think that 60 pixels is blind. Fine. It's 60 pixels more than zero, and I bet that person appreciates their 60 pixels as much as they can. I want you to keep this in mind. I just want you to keep in mind what is possible, what people are willing to do to get things working again, to get their eyesight back the next time that you hear a lobbyist say that it is dangerous that somebody be able to open a cell phone. It is dangerous that somebody be able to work on a tractor. It is dangerous this, that, and the other. What happens if you screw up somebody's eyeball? Again, I've done lots of repairs on this channel before. You got a 1-volt rail, you got a 3.3, a 5, and a 12. Now, when I swap a 1-volt line for a 12-volt line because mea culpa, I made a mistake, I'm just screwing up a motherboard. When they do that, you could literally be blowing up somebody's eye. Who the hell knows if you send 12 times the voltage there because you crisscross something. But they're still willing to do it because I was about to say in this country, but honestly, across the world, just a generation ago, we valued freedom. There's a reward at the end, and we are willing to take a little bit of risk if it means that there's a potential for a great reward. That's called freedom, and we used to value it, and we don't value it as much anymore. Why? Something to think about. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.